Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee with Carlson. I missed you last week. I hope you missed me too. I know that most of you wake up every morning and think, wow, is Jeff coming on today? No, I have to wait until Monday. Bummer. How am I going to get by my week without hearing Jeff? Hope you had a fantastic April 15th. I did. I know I did. I hope you did too. Enjoying a nice warm cup of strangely warm coffee. I didn't switch mugs. This one worked pretty good this morning. I'll have a quick sip. For those of you that are new to the Carlson Accounting family of clients and friends, you might not know that every year, April 15th, even though this year the due date was moved from April 15th to May 17th, I take off on the 15th for a week with family and friends, get away, spend some time with the family that I haven't spent much time with the few months before that. So we're normally gone from April 15th to around the 25th, something like that. Like a Friday to a Sunday. So might be gone. I might check my email. I might not. I don't really like checking my email when I'm on holiday, so you might miss out on me. Thank you for viewing. I'm glad you're here. So interesting topic this week. On the trip last week, normally spend a little more than half of it with the family, and then a bunch of buddies come over and we spend some time fishing. And we spent a lot of time talking about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, those things, if you will. A lot of people don't understand them, don't know what they are. I'm not going to go in depth into them, just a little bit of my thoughts and some things to think about as you're getting it, if you decide to get involved in them. As always, do a lot of research, talk to your financial advisor. Don't get into any investment without thoroughly researching what you're getting yourself into. Make sure you know what the risks and rewards are. So just briefly, cryptocurrency was set up as a decentralized monetary system. Initially, Bitcoin was the first one that kind of created this decentralized world. And Bitcoin was originally touted as a secondary or a replacement currency for the US dollar. A lot of people weren't really excited about that. They thought it was kind of weird and didn't understand it. How's this whole thing going to work? And the US dollar, obviously something that's been around for a long time, so kind of strong. These new things were just unknown, so people didn't understand them. As a replacement currency, it's probably not really going to work that way anytime soon, although we are moving more and more cashless society. So in that regard, maybe it will work. But Bitcoin started out really, really cheap. And because of the supply and demand or the popularity of the currency, those are worth now around $50,000 per coin. You can buy fractions of coins. I think I have 0.000029 Bitcoins, $10 or something like that. So you can buy those in fractional shares, and you can also spend them places. My wife, Jessica, and I were talking about this weekend. You can now buy a Tesla with Bitcoin. There was a show a year or so ago where someone decided they were going to travel around the world solely using Bitcoin to eat, travel, everything, and they were able to do it. That was really before it took off, so it was something that was still relatively new. But the whole idea is to have a decentralized monetary or finance system. And to just real briefly how that works is, let me back up real quick. Remember that the United States dollar, people always talk about this currency that has something backing it. Really, the only thing backing the US dollar right now is nothing tangible. There is no tangible backing to the US dollar. Since the 70s, the dollar was taken away from what was then called the gold standard, which means that for the value of every dollar was tied to a bunch of gold sitting in a vault somewhere. And that is not the case anymore. That doesn't exist. The gold's probably still there in the US mint somewhere, stored underground, but no longer tied to one another as far as a monetary value. It's strictly a supply and demand currency, which is exactly like a Bitcoin. It does have a government entity that supports it and says that in this particular case, it's a debt instrument of the United States government. So as long as the United States government is solvent, dollars will be solvent. But Bitcoin also, and all the others, Ethereum, and there's lots of side things to get around this, but are also a supply and demand type cryptocurrency. So the decentralized system was, and I'm just going to talk about this briefly, and then we'll get into a few of the tax implications and IRS rules. Decentralized system really solved this problem. If I have money in my local bank and I want to move money to another local bank that's literally physically right next door or within 3 blocks of one another, uh, typically to do a wire transfer, if it's not my account and I haven't attached the two bank accounts. So let's talk about those two things right now. I have accounts at two different local banks. I can move, I have them logins synced to one another, so I can move money from one account to the other. But I have to log in, tell it to move. That's the easy part. But then that money it comes out of my account immediately, but then it transfers through a third party Federal Reserve closing system. Then it goes to the other bank. It's at least 24-hour process, maybe a little bit more depending on the bank. I have had those transfers take 2 or 3 days. That's kind of annoying. I've got my money. Why can't I instantaneously move it from A to B? And if you want to move it to a bank that's outside of the area, then you might have to go through a couple of intermediaries. If you want to move money internationally, you probably have to go through several intermediaries. You're going to go through the Federal Reserve Bank in the United States. You're probably going to go through London, a couple of the banks, probably going to take a week if you need to send money to someone outside of the United States. So really a hassle and kind of tying up your money. And the thing that's kind of bad about that is that in the interim, as the money is moving from place to place, you no longer have access to it and are no longer earning interest off of it, but somebody is along the way. Plus, there's typically a transaction fee involved with wire transfers from one bank to another. So things to think about. The cryptocurrency market changed all that. So now I can pick up my phone if I want to move $500. Now, there are other easy ways to move cash now where it comes out of my debit account with Venmo or PayPal or even Facebook Pay. We use that a lot to transfer money sometimes from family and friends. That's okay, but you're still using these third-party intermediaries. If I want to transfer value to someone, monetary value to someone in the cryptocurrency market, I can just say, I want to send Logan Carlson, my son, 100 coins, whatever that value is at that time for the crypto that I'm sending, and I can transfer that money to him instantaneously, no third parties. And the really cool thing about it is I watched a show yesterday that was kind of explaining the mechanics behind the crypto market and really delved into the decentralized system. And I think there's a lot of misconception that there's a significant amount of fraud involved in the crypto market. But I can tell you that my logins to get into any of the accounts that I have are multi-factor authentication. You have sometimes 12-word secure backup access to get into it. And the decentralized system, it means that the miners is what they're called, but the software is running simultaneously on computers all over the world. And all those computers are racing to try and calculate and verify my transaction. So there are multiple computers in multiple locations that are all racing to calculate the same thing and verify that it's secure. So someone gave a statistic in this show that I watched a couple of days ago, said that a $10 trillion in Bitcoin trades have occurred since it was started little less than 15 years ago. And during that time, 0 fraudulent charges had occurred, meaning that no one had hacked in and changed it, because you'd have to hack into hundreds of systems around the world in order to be able to simultaneously crush this. There is no centralized database package that's stored anywhere. The implications of that for the future are pretty broad and pretty cool. So we'll get into that later on. But that's kind of the basics of it. You can buy and sell these things through multiple exchanges. You can buy them. There are a few investment places where you can buy them. You can do that research. Some of them, the newer ones, are very hard to get. You have to buy Bitcoin, transfer it, do all these crazy things. But this is just the gist of a kind of high-level overview from 35,000 feet. If you want to see anything else, there are some really cool videos on YouTube that you can watch that explains these things in detail. So how does the IRS play into this? Well, anytime the government sees something that they're not controlling, they're going to try and jump in and make it work. So in this case, the crypto world is an independent network, open source programming, decentralized across the world so that it's shared by everyone and the creators of the platform. It's secure, it's quick, it's easy, it works. The government's looking at that thinking, hey, we need to protect someone. In reality, there's no reason to protect anyone. If someone wants to invest in something that they lose all their money, that is 100% that person's fault. No one needs to protect them. You need to understand what you invest in before you do it. But the government has already said they're going to get involved. Just last week, Congress voted to form a task force to figure out how they can get involved and how they can get involved to try and probably control it, tax it, add some level of fees and complexity and slow the system down. Anything that can be done to stop that, I'm 100% for it. I think the government should stay out of it. To me, the crypto world is the essence of true capitalism. Someone created a new product. It took off like gangbusters. People can choose to or choose not to invest in it. There's no reason to protect anyone from a system that they choose freely to get involved in. So if you choose to do that, again, do your research, talk to your financial advisor, figure that stuff out. But government is coming to get involved. So the IRS started, I think it was 2 years ago. There's now a checkbox on the front page of your 1040, your personal tax return, that says, have you bought, sold, exchanged, or own any cryptocurrencies? And you're supposed to check whether yes or no. There's no other reporting required right now, but I could see them adding some level of reporting similar to the foreign financial asset reporting that we have to do, and that could mess up the whole system. But I could see them having to do that. And not that anyone's trying to hide any money, but at the end of the day, the government should stay out of it. Now, let's talk about the taxation issue related to crypto and how that could fall. So right now, if you own crypto assets, any of the assets, and you buy and hold them, there's no tax implications of that currently. You buy it, even if you paid $100, it's just like any other sort of investment vehicle that you put your money into. If you buy it for $100 and it goes to $1,000 and you don't sell it or exchange it, then you're not looking at any sort of tax implications. Now, if you're a trader of these securities, meaning you're trying to beat the arbitrage, I can tell you one that I watch, it changed from 40 cents to 44 cents. So 4 cents doesn't sound a lot, but if it's 40 cents, you could buy a whole bunch of them. Say you bought 1,000 of them and you waited until it went up to 44 cents and sold it for a 4-cent profit. That's not huge money, but a little bit of arbitrage. If you do that a bunch of times throughout the day or week, you could run into that. Those transactions are currently subjected to capital gains tax treatment. So if you hold it less than 1 year, you're one of those people that plays the daily arbitrage. I have some of those clients. Then you're going to get clipped with short-term capital gains, which currently is or your ordinary income tax rate. Now, we know that President Biden's administration has also talked about raising capital gains rates. That caused a huge bump in the market last week, a downward bump in the market last week. But they have talked about doing that. If you hold it more than a year, a lot of volatility in some of those, but if you look at the trends, typically they're going up if you get a good one, then you're subjected to current long-term capital gains rates. So you still have to report those buys and sells. Now, the interesting thing that my son and some of my friends were talking about this weekend is effectively crypto is a currency, right? So I can put money into it and then I can use it to buy something like a Tesla. So it's unknown now if I, for instance, go open an account in Europe and buy euros with it, and I put $1,000 in it and the exchange rate changes, so that's now worth $1,500. I didn't sell the currency because I'm not buying and selling currency, but if I use the $1,500 to buy something because of inflationary pressures or the value of it, how's that get treated? And I could see them coming into something like that, maybe trying to tighten it down as some sort of a foreign exchange market. But who knows, something for us to worry about later on as they get in. But for you to be aware that you must report that you own crypto assets anytime during the year. So if you bought it now, you wouldn't have to report it last year, but you would have to report it this year. And anytime you buy or sell cryptocurrencies, you're also going to be subjected to capital gains taxes on them. Keep an eye out. Government task force just started to try and rein them in. which really means they just want another money grab, try and figure out how they can tax it and get some transaction processing fees or force it to go through the Federal Reserve, which, by the way, is a private entity, but that's for another show. So right now, I'm going to say adieu and hope that you have a fantastic week. If your tax return's still in the queue, we have till May 17th. I'm going to shoot to get them all done. I know today we have meetings running pretty much nonstop every half hour today. So good news for Carlson Accounting. If you want to set up a time to talk with us, give me a call anytime at 863-382-4141. Check us out on the web and read a little bit more about us at carlsonaccounting.com. You can even schedule an appointment for me right there on the webpage. I hope you have a fantastic day. It is gorgeous outside, clear day. It was 60-ish when I left the house this morning. So enjoy your coffee. Spend a great morning getting some work done, getting everything buttoned up, and we'll see you next week on Coffee with Carlson. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you next week.